How's it going, everybody? So this is a live video because I thought it was really important to talk about the All-Star game and the reserves that have just been announced, because we have some snubs in this All-Star game that I think we should discuss. Everybody, thanks for watching. I'm Troy, Half Court Report YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe, especially if you're new here. So the first thing I want to do, and I have chat turned on as well, so anybody who has any questions or whatever, just pop them in the comments and maybe we'll talk about it. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about, let's just go through these lineups for the East and West. So East, starters, Durant, Kyrie Irving, Brad Beal, Giannis, and Joel Embiid. Starters in the West, LeBron, Steph Curry, Luka, Kawhi, and Jokic, the Joker. So reserves have just been announced. You know, you're going to have the usual suspects who you would expect to be reserves. Like in the East, you have James Harden. You have Ben Simmons. You have Vucevic. You have Jason Tatum. And then the newbies for reserves in the East. Julius Randle, I think a very deserving player. Zach LaVine, very deserving player. He's one of the best young two guards in the league right now. Then you have Jaylen Brown, also very deserving player. Then you have Vucevic, who I think the case could be made that there were some other better picks, and we'll get to those in a second. Reserves in the West, you have Dame Lillard, no surprise there. Chris Paul, not really a surprise. Probably he's the engine that gets the Suns going. Zion, I have my qualms with that one that we'll talk about. Anthony Davis, who will probably be injured and get replaced. We'll talk about him in a second. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Paul George. Three also deserving players. So let's talk. First off, I want to talk about some potential snubs in the Eastern Conference. So I think my biggest snub would be Damadus Sabonis. This is a guy who is filling it up from as far as points are concerned. Lots of rebounds, career high in assists. I think he's even shooting the three a little bit. And his stats this year are actually better than last year when he was a first-time All-Star. So I think Sabonis is one of those guys who should have been picked over somebody like Vucevic, especially when you consider that the Indiana Pacers record is better than the Orlando Magic record. Then you can look at the Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler. Both of those guys, neither were picked. I think potential snubs right there. Fred VanVleet with the Toronto Raptors. Maybe even Kyle Lowry. I saw somebody mention in the comments that Kyle Lowry is a snub as well. Either of those guys you could probably make a case for. Probably not Aaron Baines. But I think VanVleet especially having an awesome year for the Raptors. Looking also at the Sixers, Tobias Harris. This is a guy who, he's going to be third in line behind Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons anytime you do an all-star team and with the Sixers. But Tobias Harris having another really nice year. His contract that he signed not looking as bad, especially considering the year that he's having right now. But it's going to be so hard for him to make an all-star team when you already have Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, even though Philly is the best team right now in the Eastern Conference. And makes me think, should Ben Simmons have gotten that all-star bid? He's averaging like 13 points per game. About 7 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists per game as well. Hasn't shown much development at all in his game over the last several years. But I think a lot of that, he has the past notoriety, past prestige that would allow him to get yet another All-Star bid. Khris Middleton is a guy who has made the All-Star team with the Bucks the last couple of years. I don't necessarily think that he should have made it this year. I think, it could be, you could maybe say he's a snub, especially when he's probably the second or third best player on the Milwaukee Bucks, considering what you think about Drew Holiday. But Khris Middleton, his stats vary in line with what they've been the last couple of years when he did make an All-Star team. And then finally, we just had a comment about it. Trae Young, potentially the biggest snub this year because he's averaging 26, 27 points per game. He's averaging 8, 9 assists per game. This is just going off the top of my head. I don't have the numbers exact right in front of me. But best player on the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks roughly around 500 right now, a couple games under. So with Trae Young making the team last year, I think it could have been argued he makes the team yet again this year because Atlanta was even worse last year than they are right now. So that is what I think about the Eastern Conference. Let's talk about the Western Conference. Before we do that, thanks everybody for tuning in today. My name is Troy. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if it's your first time here. NBA videos, NBA content all the time on this channel. Would love for you to be a part of it. We are growing something really big right here on the old YouTube. Okay, so for Western Conference, a couple thoughts on that. Let's first off talk about the Utah Jazz, because best record in the league by a wide margin. And normally when a team has such a good record as the Jazz do, you're going to have multiple All-Stars from that team. I remember back in the day, the Pistons had Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, and Rasheed Wallace, all All-Stars. I remember the Hawks one year when they were like a 60-win team. They had Kyle Korver, Jeff Teague, Al Horford, and somebody else. I can't remember who they had 4 guys as well. Utah, I think it's a crime that you don't have Mike Conley as a reserve for this All-Star game. You already have Donovan Mitchell. You already have Rudy Gobert, which, 2 deserving players. But not to have Conley, who, very similar to Chris Paul with Phoenix, very much the engine that helps that Utah Jazz team. He's having a really, really solid year for Utah. I think it's a question whether Zion should be an All-Star, especially when you look at the Pelicans' record. Is he better than Brandon Ingram? He doesn't contribute anything on defense. Sure, he scores a lot of points. He gets some rebounds. What else? He dunks a lot. What else does he really do? So I think that's a question. And then you have Devin Booker with Phoenix as well. I think it's hard if you're going to put Chris Paul on the team. Are you going to put Devin Booker on the team as well, especially when they're not one of the top teams in the Western Conference? So I think he's another potential snub. But there's always going to be guys who, Sim26 asking about Sabonis, talked about Sabonis. I think he's a huge snub for Eastern Conference. Probably, I think, the biggest snub right now. But talking about the Western Conference and injury replacements, we already know that Anthony Davis is going to be out until after the All-Star break. That says to me he's not going to be playing in the game. So you're going to have an injury replacement for Anthony Davis. The way Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have been dealing with injuries, both of them just now coming back out, wouldn't shock me if one of those guys also needs an injury replacement. So that being said, that leaves the door open for players like Devin Booker, for players like Mike Conley, In the Western Conference, Mike Conley would be my first guy in. In the Eastern Conference, Damadus Sabonis would be my first guy in. But looking at these rosters, I don't really see anybody on the Eastern Conference who might be sitting out due to injury, because all of these guys have pretty good health right now. Western Conference, different story, especially when you look at Anthony Davis. So, guys, those are just some quick thoughts I have regarding the East and West reserves and starters. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks for tuning in today. If you haven't already, like the video, sub to the channel. We're trying to go for 12,000 subscribers. Oh, so close. Oh, so close. Gonna have another video for you later this week that I'm actually editing right now. So gonna have that for you here in a couple days. Kind of an NBA what-if story type deal that I think you're gonna like. Okay, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you next time.